Chad, the focus of this standoff is one of the buildings behind me. Now, Springfield police have been here since about 9 o'clock last night. These buildings date back to the 1800s. They used to be retailers like drug and jewelry stores, but the city says that the infrastructure is too fragile and thus too costly to update. Hail the size of golf balls hit much of this area overnight, including the 50 cars on this used car lot. Now, if we can get a close-up over here, we can see just how many dents are on the top of this car.
When I was put to the test,
Drop your weapon!
the outcome showed just how quickly those decisions must be made.
Probably already shot me, huh?
He probably already shot you.
Joplin police are still searching for a missing boy who they now believe is a runaway. 12-year-old Christian Goodwin was last seen yesterday afternoon. Audrey, after much anticipation, the freezing rain and sleet finally turned into snow, which is what you're seeing around me. And we've seen this steady snowfall since about 8:30 this morning. Geologists spent much of the weekend monitoring this area. Now, in total, there are 4 sinkholes. The largest one you can see behind me, and adjacent to it, 3 other smaller ones. With a vote of 5 to 4 in opposition, the proposal to rezone the property to a commercial lot was rejected. But this isn't the end of the effort, leaving some residents still concerned. Well, it's very windy right now, but you can see a lot of the players, they're starting to warm up. That's Ben Crenshaw, and in front of him, Lee Trevino. And after 2 hours of downpour, it's finally stopped raining, but players are still going to deal with, like what I said before, very high winds. Want to see these giraffes but can't make it out to the Dickerson Park Zoo? No problem. You can watch them on Google Street View from the comfort of your own home.
Mold from flooding now covers almost every wall of Audrey Page's basement.
I didn't think I'd have the water problem until I got out of bed one morning in ankle-deep water.
Because of the mold, she's been forced to move back upstairs and is now waiting for state and federal officials to advise her on her situation.
I'm already thinking about how I will repair what the problem is down there if they don't do it, if they back off and don't help here. Then I'll have to do it, then that's what I'll do.
She's among several of the county's homeowners impacted by the recent floods.
I've been doing this job for 11 years now, but this is the most rain I've ever seen at one time.
Rain, hail, and hurricane-force winds from Tuesday's storm uprooted 16 trees in this front yard, causing extensive damage to the house.
Webster County officials say so far, flood damage to public roads and bridges covers about 200 square miles, totaling about $3.8 million.
William Sexton of the Webster County Office of Emergency Management says he continues to find more damage.
We've lost, I believe, about 4 bridges, some low water crossings, and individual houses, some of them like $50,000 in damages, 25. There'll be some improvements in some areas also, to mitigation project to try to keep these things from occurring again.
As officials work to estimate the final cost to submit for federal assistance, homeowners like Page still hold on to hope.
Then I still have a home, and that water didn't destroy it. And water won't destroy it.
We're at Compass Point Condominiums just off of Red Bud Road, and it's the structure behind me that became engulfed in flames just before midnight last night. Now, as investigators try to determine the cause of the fire, the community is trying to come to terms with this tragedy. Residents at Compass Point Condominiums are still trying to process the fire that nearly took their lives.
Flames and just smoke everywhere.
There was an explosion, kind of rocked the building, and we saw stuff fly.
I'm not going to make this what I kept saying to myself. I knew I was going to get my wife out, but I didn't think I would.
But trapped on the 4th floor were 4 children, all who died in the fire. Gary Petrie and his wife were the last 2 residents rescued by fire crews.
I feel sorry for the little kids that didn't. Wish I could have got to them, but I couldn't.
Officials are still trying to determine the cause of the fire, but the fire chief says it likely started on the 4th floor where the children were.
An area where there was a heavy damage. There were several air conditioning units, and it's a possibility that could have been a compressor. It could have been an aerosol can. It is something we're looking into, but we haven't determined what that cause definitely was at this point.
The Osage Beach Police Department says one of the 2-year-olds lived in the apartment with her father and mother, and that her father was in the apartment at the time of the fire.
He was able to remove himself from the fire, and made
efforts to get back in, but he was unable to do so.
All of the children were cousins celebrating a birthday.
My heart just breaks. I can't imagine what it's like to be the dad and the mom who lost their kids. That our 2 daughters are the only 2 kids that came out of that building just breaks my heart.
Now, the units didn't have any overhead sprinklers, and that's because the apartment building was built before the current building code was established in 2000. And also, the sole staircase where the children would have been able to exit was just not an option at the time because of the extent of the fire. Reporting live in Osage Beach, Linda Ong, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Passing through Harrison along Highway 65, this billboard might catch your eye. It features a white girl and the words, quote, "It's not racist to love your people," an ad for White Pride Radio.
It does seem to come off as pretty racist in a sense that whites are more superior.
I don't see it as being any kind of a racism sign.
And make people stop and look. I mean, you start wondering, well, what does this sign really mean?
The message is that white people have a right to be proud of who they are. Everybody else has a right to be proud, and I don't deny that.
Thomas Robb is the director of the Ku Klux Klan, which is sponsoring the billboard. He says the message is clear.
Yeah, Harrison is a nice, loving community. Love lives here in Harrison.
Every driver traveling northbound along this section of Highway 65 can see the billboard behind me. And the sheer number of eyeballs it can potentially attract has some people concerned.
It's just discomforting.
We thought, oh no, here we go again.
The new ad comes just months after this controversial billboard that stirred nationwide controversy was removed. Mayor Jeff Crockett says this time around, the message is more direct.
The reflection comes back on Harrison, and if we just keep quiet and let him do the speaking, it looks like we're all like that. And we're not. Harrison's not like that at all.
Crockett believes billboards like this have the potential to drive people away from Harrison, hurting the local economy. And its association to the KKK only brings people back to the bygone days of racism in the town.
I would hope that more people would stand up and say, this isn't us. We're not all about this.
Kent Melton brings imagination to life through clay.
Foxtrot's a monster. It's fun to sculpt something out of clay and then seeing it actually moving around on the screen, coming to life. This is Gristle. He's probably the craziest of the henchmen.
A lover of all things art and music, Melton spent a year turning drawings into 3-dimensional characters for the Box Trolls, the newest stop animation film to hit theaters.
There's a lot of interpretation about what goes on between the lines, of a drawing. You don't want to sculpt a drawing, you want to sculpt a character, and you have to believe in the character, you have to understand who the character is, what their motivations are.
His 25 years in the industry come with no formal training. Despite this, his work has been seen by millions of people in dozens of Disney and Pixar films. But Melton's success didn't happen overnight. He started as a woodcarver, selling his artwork in Branson. Talent and being in the right place at the right time is how Melton says his career fell into place, but not without hard work.
The Missouri work ethic, my father definitely had that in spades. He was a hard-working farm boy from Missouri, and I definitely learned that from him. I think that's probably the secret to my longevity in the studio.
Melton says he never imagined he would make a successful career out of sculpting, something he feels blessed to call his job.
I love doing it. I can stand in front of a sculpture for hours and never lose interest in it. Just working away, me and the clay.